People don't describe it the same way. That's the first thing you notice. Different countries, different languages, different lives. Yet the feeling is always similar. They say they stepped somewhere that wasn't meant for them. Not another planet, not a dream, not a hallucination. A place that felt adjacent, like reality, but slightly misaligned. Most of these stories don't begin with fear. They begin with routine. Walking home, driving to work, standing in a familiar room. Then something shifts. The air feels heavier, sound becomes distant, movement feels delayed. People often say the world looks flatter, as if depth has been reduced, colors lose intensity, shadows behave incorrectly. And the most disturbing part, the place feels inhabited, but not alive. One man described entering a street that looked exactly like his own. Same houses, same layout, but no people, no animals, no wind. He said it felt paused, as if the environment was rendered, but no one was running it. He walked for several minutes before realizing there were no sounds at all. No footsteps, no distant traffic, nothing. Then suddenly a pressure in his chest, a sense of being watched, not by something visible, by the space itself. He turned a corner, and reality snapped back. Cars, noise, people. The time on his phone hadn't changed. Others described places that looked familiar but wrong. Rooms with too many doors. Hallways that stretch longer than they should. Buildings that repeat the same floor endlessly. They describe lighting that feels artificial, even when it's natural, like a simulation forgetting how light behaves. One woman claimed she entered a version of her workplace where everything was the same. Except the people. They moved slowly. They spoke, but their voices sounded delayed, as if audio was out of sync. When she spoke, no one reacted, not because they ignored her, but because they didn't register her presence at all. She said she felt transparent, unregistered. Then she blinked, and she was back at her desk. Coworkers talking, phones ringing. No one noticed anything unusual. Some describe entire cities, empty cities, perfectly clean, no decay, no damage, just absence. They say the streets feel recently abandoned, as if everyone left at once, but not in panic, in order. Others describe dimensions that feel older, places where architecture doesn't match any known period, where materials feel unfamiliar, walls that absorb sound, corners that distort perspective. A common detail appears again and again. Time behaves incorrectly, clocks don't move, phones stop updating, watches feel heavy on the wrist. Some say time passes instantly, others say it stretches painfully. Minutes feel like hours, hours collapse into seconds. Almost everyone reports the same emotional response. Not terror, discomfort. A deep instinctive sense that they are not authorized to be there, that staying too long would be dangerous. One Reddit user wrote, "It felt like the place knew I didn't belong." Another said, "It wasn't hostile, it was indifferent." This indifference appears often. These places don't chase, they don't threaten, they simply exist, and people feel like errors inside them. Some researchers believe these experiences are forms of dissociation. But dissociation doesn't produce shared environmental details. It doesn't create recurring architectural patterns. Others point to sleep disorders. But many encounters happen during full wakefulness, in public, in motion. Then there's the idea of parallel dimensions, not dramatic alternate universes, but adjacent layers, like neighboring rooms separated by thin walls. Most of the time we stay in one, but occasionally something misaligns. Stress, fatigue, routine repetition. The mind slips sideways instead of forward, and awareness follows. What's unsettling is how consistent the reports are. Even when people don't know each other, even when they've never read similar stories, the same descriptions appear. Muted colors, sound distortion, empty spaces, wrong proportions, and the feeling of being observed by the environment itself. Some describe entities, not creatures, observers, figures that stand too still, faces without expression, people who don't react, they don't speak, they don't interact. They simply occupy space, as if they're placeholders. Others describe the opposite, a complete absence of life. No observers, just structure, like a stage with no actors. One of the most disturbing themes is return. People don't choose to leave. They're expelled, often abruptly. Dizziness, a sharp sensation behind the eyes, a blink, and they're back. Sometimes in the exact same position, sometimes slightly displaced. A step forward, a few meters away, almost as if reality corrected a mistake. Many people say they don't talk about it, not because they don't want to, because they don't know how. Language fails. How do you explain a place that looked normal but wasn't real? How do you describe a space that felt aware? These experiences don't feel supernatural. They feel technical, like errors, like boundary failures, like reality briefly showing something it wasn't meant to. Some people experience it once, others more than once. Those who experience it repeatedly often report the same thing. The second time is worse, because recognition replaces confusion, and recognition brings fear, because you know where you are, and you know you shouldn't be. There is no conclusion to these stories, no answers, no explanations, just accounts, documented quietly, shared cautiously. Because once you accept the possibility that reality has layers, you start wondering how stable your own is, and whether you've already crossed boundaries without noticing. Maybe these dimensions aren't elsewhere. Maybe they're here, overlapping, waiting. And every so often, someone steps slightly out of alignment and sees what isn't meant to be seen.